So good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear us from where you are. My name is Betty Maura, and I want to start this meeting. I guess it's already 9 a.m. and we need to start on time. We've a lot to cover today, so it's important that we respect time. So as we allow more people to join in, I can see we are already 66 participants in the meeting. So it's very good that we respect time because they were here on time. So here we are, the day is here with us for fleet managers, for people who deal with fleet. We are here and this is our day. So let's see what we can achieve today. We have our panelists, we have everybody around here who is going to help us through the topic of fleet management in the decade, this decade and the next decade. And so my name is Betty Maura. I'm the academic director, fleet management program at the Strathmore Business School. That means we usually have training programs for fleet managers, driver managers. We've had some of you come for the program, and for that we are really grateful. So this webinar is done in conjunction with Toyota to try and see how we can bring fleet family together, the fleet family in Kenya together, and indeed in other countries as well. I'm aware that we have participants from other nations, so we'll try and keep it global today. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This program is for you, it's for us. I want us to approach it with an open mind. We are here to learn, we are here to network. Some of you said they wanted to learn what's going on in the industry. Others wanted to know what's the next big deal. Others wanted to know, many things to do with vehicles, fuel, and we'll see what people wanted to learn today. So come with an open mind. We come from different areas. We know different things. So probably what you've always thought works is probably not what works. So let's come with an open mind. When the panelists get to sharing, we will hear from different companies, we'll hear from different areas. So it doesn't mean that one person is right and one person is wrong. We are here to learn. So we come with an open mind and learn. We can also use the chat to put across our questions or our concerns so that we don't disrupt the meeting. So welcome today. I hope that we can keep the time so that we end in good time to go do other things for today. And so the organizers of this meeting were gracious enough to ensure that they will give gifts. And the first gift we were giving is to people who registered for this webinar. The first 5 to register for the webinar were getting the gifts. And so I think I want to read them. I hope they're in the meeting with us today. If you are in the meeting and your name comes up, kindly type yes in the chat, then we are able to see you. And if you don't, your gift is going to go to the other person, to the next person, because it probably means that you weren't around. Yeah, so the first, we will be giving the gift, it's a gift voucher of 2,500 shillings, and they'll go to Rebecca, Ruth Ngure, Samuel Kanuku, and Cyrus Warigia. I guess we still have one more person, and we will get that from Dan and Alex. Yeah, so thank you very much. We have our panelists in the house. We have David Mugambi, we have Richard, we have Philip, and we have, Andrew Ngure. Andrew, I hope you can put your video on so that we're able to see you. So I'll be introducing each panelist at their right time so that we get to hear them and get to hear what they do, and they share with us what it is that they know about the industry. Welcome, Andrew. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so for today, I'll introduce each panelist as they come to speak. So you will get to know them at that point. And so we have Andrew, we have David, and we have Richard. So we have the questions that you people sent us before, but you can continue sending the questions to us. But the questions we have around here, I'll read them out, and then we can answer them. But I feel like we should give the panelists just 1 second each to say hello and tell us what they do, just for warming up to them and you know, getting to know each other. And so I'll read them as they come on my screen. So the first panelist on my screen is David Mugambi. David, kindly say hello and do a very short introduction.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be a panelist in this forum today, meeting fellow fleet operators. I thank each and every participant here today. My name, as you have heard, is David Mugambi. I'm currently the transport manager at Kenya Power. I run a fleet of 2,300 units spread across the country. And our main objective is to ensure that the fleet is available, is reliable, and is run cost effectively to ensure that the power distribution operations go unhindered. Basically, that is me.
Thank you, David. That's quite a fleet. So participants, you can already tell that we chose well the people to represent us today and to guide us in this discussion. That's quite a fleet. So thank you so much. Richard?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Opagala. I run a fleet of 140 vehicles. And the success of any industry, any business, relies on fleet management, a robust fleet management. And that's why all of us are here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you really much. That's quite a fleet as well. We've been dealing with fleet managers for long, and any fleet past 10 vehicles is quite somewhat. So thank you so much. So participants, we have Richard. I know you have good questions for him and how you want him to guide you. And next is Philip Gadler.
Thank you very much, Betty, and good morning, everyone. So very happy to be here as well, and I'm representing more of the technical sector in terms of what fleet operators can do to step ahead in the transition over to more cost-efficient and sustainable mobility. So I'm representing a company named OPBus, where I'm the managing director. And OPBus, we work with different types of e-mobility solutions. So we develop electric drivetrains, do a lot of work for different types of vehicles in the sector, as well as charging infrastructure, motorcycles, and so forth. So I'll be representing that space today.
Fantastic. That's in a nutshell of what Philippe does. But he's the guy to ask about, I saw people asking about electric vehicles, driverless cars. So we are set, we have answers. So Philip, I hope you are preparing for that as well. And next we have my former colleague. I know he doesn't know that, but he'll know. His name is Andrew Gure. Andrew, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Andrew. Sorry, I don't think we can hear you.
Andrew is trying to sort out his machine or something. So let's give him a second. Andrew? Sorry, I think we can't hear Andrew, but I'll be giving him an opportunity. So at some point, so to save time, since we really can't hear a thing, let's move on. But definitely we'll come back to Andrew and see what we can do. So we asked you participants questions on what it is that you are expecting us to cover today, and we are very glad that you participated. A lot of you wanted to learn a new thing, and the panel has ensured that we will learn something new in the industry. So a big percentage really needed to learn. Some of us are here to benchmark, and at least you can already hear who is in the panel, so you know who to go for who, for what already in the house. And we also are here to network. So please don't come out. I hope we won't have two Toyota Kenya people networking. We'll have a Toyota Kenya and a Safaricom and a World Vision. Please come out of here with some new friend who will help you probably in the next level. And then we have people, the areas we would like us to cover mostly are vehicle acquisition, disposal, maintenance and fuel cost, driver skills, safety issues. All these are the issues that affect us in the fleet management, legal compliance, you know, and there are some of us who would really want to know, you know, the job or market complexity. Where are we going? Where is this industry going? A lot of changes are happening in different industry. A lot of us want to know where this is going. And so in terms of technological change, some of us want to know about driverless vehicles. I personally would like to hear, is it coming? Is it real? And when do we expect it? Then, of course, we would like to know about Internet of Things as far as fleet management is concerned, and electric hybrid vehicles. That's Philip's area. So a lot of you wanted to know about that. A big percentage, actually, that's a 55%. And so we floated, we wanted to hear what it is that you wanted to learn. And so we got questions from you, and those are the questions that we would like to cover today. And I'll float the question. And before I do that, I'll float the question. And then when a panelist picks that question to answer, I'll read for you their profile so that we can know who it is that we are dealing with. But actually, let me read the profiles of our panelists. We have Andrew. Andrew, I'll give you an opportunity, don't worry. And Andrew is the current person who is dealing with fleet management at Safaricom Limited. And Andrew is, you know, he is a trained building economist. That's what he did. And he's a registered quantity surveyor and a property and project management practitioner. We are dealing with the right person. He has worked as a consulting quantity surveyor, telecoms and fiber quantity surveyor, project manager and property manager. So he's very well, I mean, he's covered a lot of areas, which is good for us because we can ask the right questions. Currently focusing on products and services development and management for HR and property shared services through simplification, automation, and digitization, allowing Safaricom staff to experience a seamless workspace experience for both workspaces, formerly places, and mobility. Other than being customer obsessed, he enjoys outdoors and learning from diverse disciplines. And so I hope, Andrew, as you talk to us, you want to touch about customer obsession, because I saw Safaricom launched something to do with that. And so at this juncture, I've read for us Andrew's profile. So Andrew, we couldn't hear you a while back. So yes. I want you to introduce yourself, just a brief one. I've read your profile. And then there is a question for you. And that question, I'll read it so that you can answer it as well. So let me read the question for you. As you answer it, you can also tell us something small about yourself. And your question is, what major shifts in Internet of Things do you see driving the sector in the next 3 to 5 years? Let me repeat that again. What major shifts in Internet of Things do you see driving the sector in the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay. My name is Andrew. Apologies that you could not hear me, participants and everyone in this forum. I hope I'm clear now, Betty.
You are completely clear.
Thank you. Had to change devices. So my background, like you've heard, is in building. I've been doing workplace planning now. I've been entrusted in the transport, fleet, and travel function. So for us, it's for me, it's a new world, but also an exciting one. In the area of IoT, I'll probably say beyond now the tracking that most of the companies have been doing, like you can know where your car is, where your drivers are at any one point. IoT now is coming in to be able to be transmitting where your vehicle is stationed, how to stop it, how to manage it. But however, it's not necessarily as, how do we put it, as advanced as we would want to have it. It's still coming in, like in our industry right now. We are testing it probably in the last 3 months in how it's going to work, but it's still new. So we are hoping that it's going to be bigger as we get into the 5G technology, and hopefully it will work very well. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Andrew, for that answer, and thank you for guiding us through the Internet of Things. I see a lot of questions around that area, and I ask that you allow us to keep asking you to help us around there. We know Safaricom for these things, so we bomb them all on you. Yeah, and so the next question we have, thank you, Andrew, for that guidance. The next question we have is, how can an organization adjust fast enough to unplanned mishaps or unpredictable natural causes? How can an organization adjust fast enough to unplanned mishaps or unpredictable natural causes? This question, I would like it to go to David Mugambi, and then he can help us answer that question. But before we do that, I want to read David's profile. David is currently the manager, transport services at Kenya Power and Lightning Company. Mugambi is a mechanical engineering graduate from University of Nairobi with over 24 years experience in diverse professional and management positions at Kenya Power. He has been a regional transport engineer, county business manager, and regional manager prior to his current appointment. Mugambi is a member of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers and a graduate member, Institute of Engineers of Kenya. He is passionate about transforming young people's lives through mentorship and helping the less fortunate in the society. So Mugambi, I know I'm not wrong when I pick you to answer that question, that how can organizations plan to deal with mishaps that we didn't predict. Having done that for many years, I know you can give us a tip or two. Thank you. Unmute, Mugambi.
Am I being heard?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Good morning once again, participants. I want to say that there is no single or structural way of dealing with unpredictable situations. Over the years and in the industry I work, unpredictability is one of the things. Actually, change is the only constant in our environment. So we need to be prepared with the skills to be able to respond in a timely manner to those uncertainties. There are some which can be planned for. You know when you don't know when they will occur, but you need to have done an analysis of your environment to see what can go wrong. We normally use a risk-based approach to dealing with these issues. So I know, for example, I will have an accident somewhere, but I don't know where, I don't know how, but I plan in advance. If I got an accident, how will I respond to it? Just like in the power line, we know somebody will knock a pole somewhere along the road as it drives. We'll have somebody, maybe a fatality, and we'll have a power blackout resulting from that. How do we respond to it? But we cannot really be It depends a lot on the intuition of the person on the ground and how well they have been trained and empowered to make decisions to respond to those situations. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much, David, for guiding us that way. We really, really appreciate. And so at this juncture, we still have so many questions. I can see we are also floating new questions, with the chat. If you have a question, kindly let us see it and let us read it from the chat. We still have many questions and we are still expecting many from you. We'll try and answer as many as possible. And so at this juncture, I want to allow Richard Opagala to take us through something small he had prepared for for us. Your notes, Richard, what it is you would like us to hear, even before we start, we give you a question. I mean, the first two questions are good. They allow us to be in the mood, and I hope that has happened for our participants and ourselves. So Richard, just an opportunity to say something small, and then we are able to answer the rest of the questions. I'll float a question to you. Exactly. So before Richard gives us his notes and a small, just a presentation, a little one. Richard oversees fleet operation in World Vision Kenya for over 18 years, with a humble beginning as a driver and steadily growing to fleet manager. He is trained in fleet management and transport logistics. He's a certified driver trainer by TGS. He's also the brainchild of the driver recognition program under Fleet Forum. Opagala purposes every day to add value to the people that he meets. And during our many interactions with fleet managers, the major thorn issue is driver management. And so Richard, I know you will be able to guide us through that. So just a few minutes, 5 of those, tell us something, and then we are going to float a question to you.
Good morning, everyone. I want to begin by a small story of Jesus Christ. When he wanted to enter the triumphant entry to Jerusalem, he chose to ride on a donkey. And that donkey, he knew that donkey. And that's what calls to us as drivers. Do drivers know their vehicles? Probably yes or no. This is the fleet manager's role to ensure that he becomes a conduit between manufacturers and the drivers to understand the dynamics of vehicle models and the components that are put together in that vehicle. Another role of a manager is to develop and enforce policies that are mainstreaming the industry trends in view of the Kyoto Protocol and the SDG number 7 and number 13. That emphasizes on the use of affordable clean energy and climate action that requires all of us to take into place. I want to approach this on these 3 phases. For a very good driver and a manager, you need to look on the 3 systems. 1 is safety, healthy, and economic operation of that vehicle. Let me begin by a word of Jesus Christ himself. When he was walking in the ocean, he saw a fisherman and he said, "Come, I want to make you fishers of men." This is what we want to do to our driver. We need to prepare drivers the technological adoption that comes in with the current trend of changes in the industry, increase drivers' understanding of vehicle components, operating procedures of each system, example, braking, cooling, steering, electrical system, driveline, and tires. When I talk about these things, this is what brings together for a vehicle to continually operate. Enable drivers in troubleshooting system faults, like example, brakes. A brake pad loses its life for you to gain life. Enable drivers to increase their knowledge of vehicle power development that begins from chemical reaction to heat energy, to mechanical energy, to kinetic energy. So that when they are on the seat, on the wheel, they are aware of what it calls for them to be. Help in understanding applied physics in automation, kinetic energy, inertia forces, centrifugal forces, forces of gravity, speed, and weight. This is what makes them to be knowledgeable of what they are supposed to do. Drivers are able to read the terrain and adjust accordingly. Drivers are able to scan and avoid both internal and external distractors. These are the major causes of the many accidents that give birth to many deaths in Kenya. Maintain original vehicle geometry. Most of us are very good in adjusting the vehicle geometry, and that's what increases our risk to accident and incidences. The second thing I want to look at is the health of that vehicle. Many of us want to put so many things to our vehicles, tracking devices, adjustable bars, and all that. And all these things are not bringing any safety to any of our vehicle. One thing that we need to be very clear is the most important gadget you need to have in a vehicle is a trained driver. Trained driver is able to follow through the service interval of any vehicle from the manufacturer's perspective, establish routine preventive maintenance, ensure use of dealership and genuine parts. Some vehicles you cannot adopt parts, you use genuine. Never use mono oils going forward. I'm talking of mono oils that have one letter like maybe SE40. I advise that for you to have your vehicle increase its life from 1 year to maybe 10 years to 20 years, you need to use the double oil. The double oil like 15W40, 10W30, like that. Purchase vehicles that meet your terrain and organization need. Develop the disposal policy that is consistent to the break-even point of each vehicle. Establish a routine vehicle check and inspection by all drivers. Once you do this, then when it comes to the economic perspective of it, this is what you need to have. And if you're able to forget everything in this presentation, don't forget this. Safety comes first before the right of way. Don't think you are right when you have an accident coming on your way. Don't crank the engine if you are not ready to move. Idling time wastes a lot of fuel. Plan your route appropriately, ensure smooth takeoff and stopping, understand your vehicle support systems. VVTI, some of us waste a lot of fuel, and yet your vehicles have systems that have been enabled to make fuel economy. Example, we have developed from carburetor to EFI to VVTI, and the technology is changing. Like VVTI is a variable valve timing intelligence that's able to apportion fuel against the speed, gradient, and the load. And most of us keep on praising the accelerator without considering that it has a support function. ABS, and VSC, TRC, all these systems are going to support you in making sure that your fuel economy and the vehicle is under your control. Ensure to use recommendable fluids, coolant, brake fluid. I wonder, even most of us in this call right now, if you check on your vehicles, you have brake fluids left in your boot somewhere. It's not necessary. Why do you have a brake fluid in your boot? And yet we have been advised to use brake fluid from a sealed container only. Don't drive in a dark areas of a vehicle. Don't follow too close, because those dark areas are the ingredient of accident. It is safer to drive into a ditch than a head-on collision, even on a lower speed. Apply defensive driving skills every moment, every time. That is, have vehicle mercy, duty of care to other road users, avoid road rage. Most of us keep charging on the road, and that's what disrupts you. Have at least some few minutes when you drive from here to somewhere. You plan your route so that you know where do you stop for rest, where do you, and don't exceed your driving time in a year, in a day. And once you follow all this through, there is a huge benefit to your organization. Drivers become ambassadors of the organization. They improve safety of communities where we operate. They prevent loss of life and injury through traffic accident, reduce liability risk, increase your brand and value and reputation. Drivers uphold globally accepted standards. They reduce, by so doing, they will reduce fleet operation cost. And all this, you'll be using your drivers to market you and your organization. This is a simple procedure that if you follow to the letter, you will have the full benefit of operating a healthy and effective fleet. And a fleet that is available should always be available for business, not parked at the garage. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for that presentation. And now to our participants, we are already 162 of us in the house. You heard what Richard taught us in a very short time. So questions to him, we have the Q&A space, we have the chat space. You know which questions to ask to Richard, and then I can read out the questions for you. But before we do that, I would like to introduce Philip Gadler. And Philip has also a presentation for us. He wants to teach us something. I can already see a lot of questions being floated to Philip, but even before we do that, let's hear what he has to say. Maybe that answers some of the questions. Philip is the CEO of Opibus in Sweden and Kenya, and founder of Phoenix Mobility in France. He's a renewable energy engineer driven by environmental change and social sustainability. In order to meet our global SDGs, he believes we need to expand our traditional views on the market and establish new disruptive paths for accelerated impact. Philip has previously been active in international business development and work experience from 4 continents. His company, Opibus, currently has more than 60 employees and is operating the first electric vehicle production facility in Kenya. So you can be sure we chose well. So Philip, welcome. And let's hear what you have to tell us today.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Betty. Lovely forum here, and I'm glad to speak a bit about the technical side, like I was saying in the start, and explain a bit more about what the future entails in terms of sustainable mobility, but also making sure that we can have more cost-efficient and efficient styles in general of how we operate our vehicles. So I thought, as I'm assuming that a big part of the audience is quite new to e-mobility solutions, I had a bit of a presentation that I wanted to show to give a bit of that background to show that what is happening in the region today in terms of sustainable mobility, and explain a bit more of what opportunities we have, as well as what we do at Opibus. So maybe you can assist me in bringing up the presentation there.
Yeah, a second.
No worries.
Alex, you're helping us do that.
Philip, you can share your screen.
All right. Give me 1 second there. All right, there we go. I hope everyone can see the screen right there.
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to move straight to it, as it's, I mean, I could talk quite a lot about what's happening in this space, but I want to be quite efficient with my time as well. But if you try to visualize what you want the fleet operator sector to look like in the transportation sector, from my side, I think that it's pretty clear that we want to see an eco-friendly transport sector that is innovative and that is cost effective. And the fact is that by working with e-mobility solutions, we enable all of these 3. And the fact is also that this is not a part of the future, but this is actually something that is available and possible to implement already today. So just to mention quickly about why this transition is important to move over to e-mobility solutions, I think that the environment is probably the key aspect about this, that we need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions from a global perspective to be able to meet our climate goals. And also, if you look to the urban environment, the fossil fuel sector is standing for significant amounts of particle emissions that are affecting the populational health, as well as the nature, wildlife, and other areas. We need to work and bring those carbon emissions and particle emissions down. And then also with the externalities we can achieve by stepping over to sustainable solutions, I think that we can achieve also significant economic potential from that transition. If we look to a global perspective, I think that you can say that the transition is becoming more and more inevitable. We're seeing significant increases of the uptake of e-mobility solutions in several markets around the globe. And if you look to several developed markets, I think the commercial utility sector is one of the driving forces that are standing for a big part of this transition right now. And also a lot of these markets, the EVs have reached now a majority of the total vehicle sales in increasingly numbers of markets around the globe. So I think that we're seeing a transition that is going to continue. And the question is a bit that why should we in Africa stay in the past when we can take steps to the future and take part in utilizing the positive signs that you get from e-mobility solutions? And then you also have the raw material prices and component prices that have been decreasing significantly over the past years, which have led to the total cost of ownership as well as the return of investment for the end users that are becoming better and better and continuously improving. That together with technical developments, meaning that the range can be increased with higher energy and power densities of the battery pack, means that we get more viable solutions for the end users and operators. So if we step a bit more to East Africa and say that why is this also important to work with there? In Kenya, the transport sector is standing for a majority. It's the largest contributor of carbon emissions to the atmosphere. And it is also growing significantly from year to year. So we need to bring that down. And on the power generation side, Kenya also has one of the greenest grids in Africa. We have more than 80% renewable energy that's being generated. So why not utilize this power generation that we have to a sustainable purpose? And also the surplus is very high that we have in Kenya when the demand is not increasing as much as forecasted. So e-mobility can be one solution to bring this demand up and utilize the resources that we're having. And then by working with localized solutions, we also have a big potential for job creation from assembly, production, and R&D. And quickly on what's been happening so far is that the regulatory landscape is improving from day to day, and we have the National Climate Change Action Plan that is including a bit about e-mobility. We have significant improvements also in the policy and standardization level, where it's becoming better and easier and more efficient to register and homologate and import also vehicles from abroad. We have the Kenya Green Bonds program, which is also working with bridging the gap in development financing, and e-mobility is a part of that can support the deployment of charging infrastructure. Awareness is also increasing the demand gradually, but I still see that there's a significant lack of awareness. So that's something that we can work more on, where I think that this forum is great for everyone to understand more what this means to us. And just quickly, two-wheelers, public transport, BRT, and utility vehicles are some of the key areas that I see we have a big potential for adoption in the mobility space. So why is it important for the end users to go electric, or what are the benefits for the end users and the fleet operators? Well, cost is one of the major things. You decrease the cost with up to 80% from the operational expenditures you're having. And that's due to the fact that you don't use any fuel and the maintenance need is nearly zero. You have a performance that's also increased due to the fact that electric motors give a very high level of torque. So you can achieve actually a performance increase by stepping over to e-mobility. And of course, you have the emission reduction as well as the sound pollution that's reduced significantly. If you look to the side here on the chart, you see a benchmark from an actual operator about how it differed between the previous cost for using a diesel vehicle to moving over to e-mobility solutions. And on average, I can say that the return of investment is usually between 1.5 to 4 years, which is quite good. So to explain quickly about what we do at Opibus, we're very driven in impact, and that's both the environmental impact and social impact. We support authorities in working with policy adoption and standards. We are a team that is nearly 100% Kenyan. We have about 95% Kenyan employees in our team today in our facility that's based in Nairobi. So we started in 2018, the first EV assembly and production plant in the region, and have now been deploying products since that. So the different products that we work with today is electric vehicle conversions that I'm going to explain a little bit more about in the next slide. We work with charging infrastructure, electric motorcycles that we produce locally, and other types of power generation solutions. So a conversion, just quickly about this, it's quite simple. We remove the internal combustion engine, remove the gearbox and the fuel tanks, and replace it with powertrains, so electrical powertrains. And we have been doing a lot of work in the off-road industry over the past years, but now we're doing several projects coming up in the public transport space with the Matatus that we're doing. So both, I think from 50 seaters up to 50 seaters, so everything in that range. And then also utility vehicles. So for example, delivery vans and trucks for urban environments and urban usage. And the conversion in general, you can say that it lowers the cost for this EV transition due to the fact that you're retaining the existing chassis. So you don't have to purchase a new vehicle, but you only invest in what matters, which is the actual drive. And we also, to every vehicle they're connected. So it's a bit of IoT, as I know there have been a bunch of questions about. So all the vehicles that we deploy are connected to server-based platforms where we're gathering data of how the vehicles are being used. And that comes into the fleet management perspective about how you can make sure that you utilize your fleets in the best possible way. And you can do that by understanding the utilization rates, how long your vehicles are driving, and gather that statistics for making a proper analysis of the sector. And that also means that you can work with preemptive maintenance because you can understand the vehicle and see before something happens, you can put in preemptive maintenance by understanding how the different components in the vehicle are integrating their work. And my last slide here is just to quickly explain about charging infrastructure. There's several types of chargers that can be deployed for different types of purposes. So depending on what specific needs are, you can either work with overnight charging, which is a cheaper and slower charger that charges the vehicle overnight, or you can work with destination chargers, which are a bit faster and charges the vehicle in about an hour and a half to 3 hours, or you can deploy the high power chargers, which generally are used en route, meaning that you use it when you pause, take in the Matatu sector, when you want to change direction and go back along the route, you stop for 20 minutes, plug it in and charge. But there's of course a cost difference in between these chargers. It's important to understand that anything is possible, and you can easily optimize how you want to what type of charging you want to deploy for your usage. So that was my last slide, and thank you for giving me time to burn this through. I think it's important to get that background for everyone here who are quite new to e-mobility. So thank you for this.
Fantastic. Thank you, Philip. And thank you, participants, for listening and giving Philip your ear. I hope some of the questions that we had floated to Philip have been answered, but if you feel that you still have a question, we've got the Q&A section, we've got the chat, you can float your question. We'll try and answer as many as possible. But before then, Andrew, I want to give you an opportunity to give us what you had prepared. I know, in a few minutes, and then we can hear, probably you're going to be able to answer some of the questions in your presentation. If not, then we have the questions and answers section, and then we can try, see how many of those we can answer. Unmute, Andrew.
Yes, sorry. Thanks again for the opportunity to share with you. Like I said earlier, I'm from Safaricom, where we say we transform lives. And our focus mainly is how best to make sure that the business runs. We run almost 400 vehicles across the company with 700 drivers who are licensed to drive company cars, and all the 47 counties, as high as, Mandera and Turkana. Our main functions that probably take 85% of our functions, of our fleet, is commercial and technology. So every time a site has to be up, a site is not doing well, I need to roll out a new site, I need to go to the trade, I need to sell, those are the main functions. However, we also have areas in security, property, maintenance, and the like. We also serve in the same transport service, shuttle services and taxi services. We have a big contact center that we serve every day. So we have to take home staff from home and back to work. Although the numbers have reduced, we used to do 1,200 before COVID. Now we are doing almost 200 staff in Eldoret, Nairobi, and Mlolongo. one of the other things that we serve our staff with is trying to maintain a clean and safe fleet. So, like I'll probably share with you shortly. When we started, for us, it was mainly about, grow the network. We had, make sure that the network is out there, rolled out, clear, and available for all staff. So those days, it was all about cash and trust. Staff were given cash, you spend, you receipt later. And it was all about an engineer going out to the site and develop and build a new BTS site. But now it has changed. Now it's all about service availability, guaranteeing that the staff are out there and making sure they transform life. So like a story is told about how an engineer comes to Safaricom, maybe 12 years ago. You come in, you're being given 2 items, a laptop and a car key and a vehicle. You're meant to make sure that the car runs as much as possible so that you cover as much kilometers to provide network in the business. However, now we are happy. The business now has grown, and now we're giving you mobile services and financial services to enjoy. So in fleet, our 3 main focus areas are usually reliability first. So a vehicle has to run as much as possible. It needs to be serviced as fast as possible. Secondly is assurance. Assure that you consistently have a fleet. If it's broken, somebody else has to give you a replacement car while it's in the garage and all that. And now the next bit that we're focusing on is on experience, because our main focus is on the staff who have to show up for the customers out there. We have to make sure that every day they wake up, they go on the road. Okay. Probably I'll touch on what it means for us as disruption. Disruption is mainly about meeting or not meeting customer needs. I like the way Philip brought it out. We have an opportunities to grow EV, electric vehicles in the world, but the question is, why are we not doing it? Is it because we are not learning it, or is it because we are not fast enough in appreciating what is out there? But all that means anyone who's lagging behind with the future technology is likely to lose it out if they don't get into the new world of electric and IoT world. Okay. So I want to share with you a few challenges that we face, mainly driver safety. So remember, driver is a person like me and you who wake up with every day differently. So you don't know how a person or a driver wakes up to do in that day. You planned some work, but maybe you have an argument at home, or maybe you woke up in a bad mood or sick. So that is very critical for us to make sure that driver safety is key. Journey management is handled very well. One key thing around speeding. So while the vehicles that we hold can run, have a speed limit of say 200, and the law is giving us say 110 kilometers per hour. For us, we make sure that you don't go beyond 90, so that we maintain your safety as much as possible and try as much as possible to keep a journey within within the day, no night travels and all that. Okay, security is also key, and recently self-service. So as much as possible, while we go in and request for services, maintenance costs and all that, we've realized the drivers also want to manage that whole process. Before it has been about someone sending an email, or I need my car to be maintained and all that. Now we want to take it to your phone. You can request, automatically go to the garage. Garage expects you. It's repaired and you off to work. And of course, COVID has happened to all of us and all careers. We have to be agile, and agility is one key thing that we've come up to appreciate. It's a challenge and also an opportunity in a way. In regards to our fleet model, so there are four numbers that we've built over the last 4 years in running our fleet model. So one, it is a fleet car has to have 5 years or 150,000 kilometers. Therefore, you have to have a 2,500 kilometers utilization rate per month and keeping a maintenance cost of 6 shillings per kilometer. Now that's a tough one. It took us probably 4 years to achieve that. Developing and changing all that fleet. Probably Philip will, and the team are going to give us an EV that gives us less than 6 shillings. We know AA is giving us 14 shillings and 5 cents. That's way high up. So we can go probably at 2. I don't know, but that's the opportunity that you're looking for. COVID has also pushed us to push that number to 180 kilometers, 200 to 6 years. So instead of before you dispose a vehicle, but who knows? We probably are going to be able to do that. So we use a whole life asset management principles in managing our fleet. So I'll share with you 5 of those main principles. One is the sourcing and acquisition is mainly on total cost of ownership. Yeah? Where we are saying, I buy, I manage the car, I dispose. I have to think about the capex, the capital expenditure, the maintenance cost, and how I'm going to dispose it. That has to be managed all the way, okay? And of course, with minimal short-term hiring, and of course, emergency fleet requirements. Then allocation for us is per function. Each function has to have a business case and say, I need a vehicle, I need to run this for this period, this function, and this is the return that I'm going to get from the car. And then therefore, then we use all those numbers to develop a wholesome business case. The other one is maintenance of a vehicle economic life. So once we buy a vehicle, we will say the warranty period up to 100,000 kilometers should be able to cover the vehicle without necessarily spending on the day-to-day service A, service B, and all that. And then thereafter, we go to have selected garages that will support us in maintaining the car. But then we also are having better technology coming in. Why can't we just push that and have the suppliers of the vehicles push that to 150? Maybe that can work, okay? Then the other one is fleet utilization. Like I've said, for us, we focus on 2,000 kilometers per month as a goal. So if you don't do that, we probably pull out the car from you, give it to somebody else who's running the same, or try to make sure that that number is pushed to ensure that utilization is at that number. So that, of course, the 5-year 150,000 mark is reached. And then, of course, vehicle disposal. For us, vehicle disposal is internal. So once a vehicle is disposed, it's disposed internally to our staff through a raffle, of course, and people get to enjoy the car after that. And probably lastly is on the things that we are looking for forward in the probably the next decade, asking our suppliers or the franchise owners, why can't we just buy back the vehicle so that we don't worry about the disposal plan? Improve that service availability. Today we are talking about owning a vehicle, but then before that it was about, okay, can you do leasing, can you do hiring, can you do all that? So it depends on the model, but we want to make sure that all fleet managers of transport managers are able to manage their service availability at an affordable rate, regardless of the model. Of course, it changes as we go. The other one is mainly on IoT. It's great that we already have IoT fleet tracking, but probably we call it differently. So one, your fleet tracker right now can signal and tell you where your car is. So that's IoT, right? Your current fleet tracker can tell you whether your driver is overspeeding or whether driving is abruptly braking or swerving and all that. The current fleet trackers can do that. So the next point probably we should be asking ourselves is driverless cars. How efficient is the consumption of the fuel in the car? How often do you do your services? So that from just one gadget installed in a car, you can tell the life, the driver, style of the driver, how the car is, the maintenance cost, all of that in just a pull out from the system. And then of course, three our main focus areas in the area of mobility and fleet are now the three ones that I want to leave you with today. That we see, regardless of the industry, regardless of the technology, we'll still be focusing on these three items. So one is risk management, life, property protection, and regulation. So we can try as much as possible to have the best cars, the best fleet, but we have to make sure life is protected, property is protected, and we follow the law. Like for us, a safety objective comes before business objective. We can't say you're driving so fast because you're trying to sell a product. You're better off firing you instead of keeping you here and lose your life. So that for us is key on reliability. The other one is service assurance and sustainability. So we call it cost leadership. As much as possible, try to push the cost and understand your fleet as much as possible. Okay, how your drivers drive, how your costs are running every other month, every other week. You know, have a robust business case that works with your business. One of the things that we struggle with fleet is we mostly look like a cost element, a cost center, and not necessarily a business. So we are now forced to go to that level where you have to understand what the business is doing, the focus areas of the business, and what the profit and loss, numbers are all about. The EBITDAs, and cash flows of the business. And of course, lastly, is on service availability and experience. So a staff needs to enjoy, the driver who's driving the car needs to enjoy the experience of the car as much as possible. Okay, are we saying, so the question probably is, are we focusing on optimal cost or optimal value? Okay, how much premium are you willing to pay on downtime? Will you keep an extra car where you have a 10, a fleet of 10, and you have and you keep an extra car in case one breaks down, so that you replace it, so that you don't lose a trip to the trade or to sort out a technology site. So mainly that's our focus area, and thank you for listening to me. Thank you. Over to you, Betty.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for guiding us through what we could borrow, a thing or two, on the areas that you've covered. We really appreciate that gesture. Thank you for being authentic, and thank you for taking us through what you're doing. It's really good. Actually, looking at Safaricom and where you're going next, and sharing it with us, we really appreciate that. And so, in the interest of time, I know we have an extra 30 minutes to go, and we have a lot of questions and a few interactions to do. But before we do that, we have David with his very many years of experience. So David, I want to give you a few minutes. You take us through what you had prepared. We might learn a thing or two from Kenya Power.
Thank you very much. I would wish to just continue on what Andrew and Richard shared. Technically, we run a fleet at Kenya Power of, as I said, 2,000 units, of which about 700 are motorcycles, so the rest are vehicles, and 300 plant. We do about 30 million kilometers a year. And this fleet is run on a budget of about 2 billion, 2 to 2.5 billion, depending on the capital investment for that year. This takes care of the capex and maintenance and fuel. Fuel alone, we do about 650 million a year, while in maintenance, we do about 450 million. Unlike Safaricom, our vehicles are doing up to 12 years, not 4 years. So we have a bit generous on maintenance, but we are still maintaining good performance indicators. Our main challenge, or rather our main objective, as I mentioned, one is reliability, availability, and cost. So if we are able to provide available transport, which is reliable, then we have to look at the issues of cost. With our fleet, which is spread across the country, in Nairobi, in very remote spaces, it's a big challenge to get a procedure or rules which would be able to work across such a diverse environment. So that's something we are working on a day-to-day basis to improve, so that we are able to ensure that our fleet is available. The other thing we have noticed, as I've noticed over the years, is the growth of the fleet. When I joined the organization, we were at about 1,000 vehicles. Right now, we have hit 2,300. And in our own private hands, which are not run under the fleet, for officers, we have another close to 1,500 vehicles. So an organization with about 300, 500 units running, we really have a challenge of dealing with fleet and the transport costs. The other item is we have picked now to stop this growth is utilization. Using the Internet of Things, we are able to tell how many hours is a vehicle being used per day, how many hours is a driver actually driving per day. And at the end of the day, we are able to tell the profile of how a vehicle and the pattern is being used. So can one of the vehicles be shared between departments? So we are actually withdrawing that allocation so that we pull some of the resources so that they are able to be available to whoever needs them. So this is something really we are trying to deal with using Internet of Things in terms of tracking. The other challenge as a fleet operator is fuel. And people stopped siphoning fuel from tanks. We are able to monitor the fuel in the tanks, but we are losing a lot of fuel at the pump. And that's something I would appreciate if the other panelists would be able to contribute. How do we deal with the theft at the pump? Where on the vehicle you get 20 liters, but you pay for 21 liters or 25 liters. We are also having a major challenge with the rising number of accidents. And from here, I would say that Richard mentioned the driver being the main tool we need in the vehicle. And I agree with him to a very large extent. Over the last 3 years, our accident rates has been rising from about 3.5 accidents per 1 million kilometers. Now we are at 5 accidents per 1 million kilometers. The number of vehicles are increasing on the road. In Nairobi, we have more accidents. And also there is a challenge in terms of how do you get a driver reward system which takes care of the different environments they operate in. We have someone driving in Lamu where there is only one car, and you have someone in Nairobi who is on Thika Road. How likely are you to get into an incident? So these are some of the challenges as fleet owners we are going through. And as at KPLC, we have devised a way of actually being able to monitor utility of both the drivers and the vehicles so that you can see what is your risk exposure. So that even as I make a reward that you have driven for 5 years, I should take care of the environment in which you have actually been driving and be able to correct for those risks which are enhanced in some of the areas like towns. We are also looking at the issue of electric mobility. I've seen a question from about the charging stations. At KPLC, we have actually started looking at this seriously on how we can be able to participate in renewable energy. and also increase the market for electricity as one of our products. In the next 1 month or two, we should be having motorbikes which are being tested locally in terms of piloting. We are in partnership with UNEP at the moment to be able to deal with testing of electric motorcycles. And also, we are also working with in another initiative to see how to introduce electric mobility in terms of buses. Philip mentioned about the conversion of existing internal combustion engines to electric, but we're also looking at how do we get to get a supply line of new vehicles, because quite a number of organizations have a challenge in terms of investing in old fleet. And it's not cheap. The conversion we are talking about was not cheap, so we are looking at encouraging the e-mobility, and that's also our future. Finally, I want to also mention the issue of responsiveness to needs and what we actually been doing at Kenya Power, running the fleet. I deal with mechanization, I deal with material handling. We are designed, for example, OSHA, the safety of the staff, the vehicles they have been driving. Before, you could see our staff on top of lorries with poles. Our staff in the same compartment with materials. We have had to redesign these vehicles so that we are able to ensure the staff are safe and the materials are safe, and we are able to move them. We are also looking at mechanization. For example, we switch off power lines every time we want to do repairs. We've had to design and bring in liveline equipment. This has brought in new technology in terms of a lot of hydraulics, a lot of pneumatics, and also the safety of our people when they are working on the line. We have to redesign vehicles so that they can sense high voltages. So we have been in the process of improving our transport solutions, our material handling solutions, and mechanizing our systems. Holes currently we dig using augers, as opposed to before when we would get staff to spend a day digging one hole. These are also improvements within the fleet which have taken place over the last couple of years. The final challenge I would like to share actually is on which we have been able to deal with is the issue of multitasking. Our drivers have been driving vehicles without any other role in the team. So you drive a team in the morning, you sit the whole day, and you drive them back in the evening. Question has been, can we be able to utilize this driver? Can this driver be able to take care of his vehicle? And Richard mentioned very well about the training of drivers, and that is one area we are really concentrating on to ensure that they are able to ensure our fleet is reliable, safe, and it's optimally utilized. I think that is basically what I would prepared for this forum. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for taking us through what you do at KPLC and letting us in on the 2000 fleet. That's quite something. And we've learned quite something. I'm happy to hear about, the driver can also be used to do something else, and that really is good. And so we have a few more minutes to go, but I would like us to go through some of these questions. I'll read them, the way they came in. If you are the first one to post, but there are some of us who have chosen to read the responses on chat. But let me say, if we are not able to cover all these questions, we will answer them and send them on email. So the panelists will read, answer the questions are assigned to them, and then we can send them, but we'll try and answer as many as possible. So for this one goes to Andrew. Hi, Andrew, pleasure to hear from you. What are the major challenges you get, especially in tracking of vehicles i.e. various tracking systems. We have vehicles that go through the border, but once they cross the border, connectivity is low. Are there any plans to prioritize roaming capabilities for this? So Andrew, if you could answer that one.
That I can say it's a challenge even to us. Most of the systems cover mainly, say, a country, say Kenya. The moment you reach, say, the border, Lunga Lunga, or probably around there, you get a challenge. You're told this signal cannot. So you're trying to get into probably East Africa, and it's all about connectivity from here Kenya and the networks that are in Tanzania or Uganda and the like. So most of the systems right now are covered the country, not outside, and that's still a challenge even for us. I don't think if there's anyone with that solution, I don't think we have it yet. Yeah, but it would be good to have anyone in the forum sharing if they have that capability. Yeah, but it's a good opportunity to go into as well. Yeah.
All righty, so thanks very much, Andrew, for that. We will beef up the answers and send them back to you. The next question was, most sectors of our economy have training institutions for the lowest cadre of workers, but land transport has no such institution to train staff in transport management. How can we correct this going forward into the Internet of Things era? That's from James Koge. I know this comes straight for Strathmore team. I will answer this for Strathmore team. James, we actually do this kind of training, of course, for management level and those upper cadres for fleet owners, fleet managers, fleet companies. We do have such kind of training at Strathmore. We will be letting you know when we have it and where we can have it. If COVID is not, we have physical meetings and we also have online meetings, so we will let you know that it's available. It's our bad that we had never let you know about that one. It's available. Training is available even for higher cadres. So that one I've answered. Let me read another one. This is from Samuel Kanuku. David and other panelists, how is agile logistics likely to impact on fleet management? David, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, I'm not very sure whether the agile is the issue of integrating the logistics chain. Maybe I would require a clarification to be able to tackle it. But in my opinion is that if it involves the integration of the logistic chain from production to the end, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking at the fact, using the Internet of Things, how do we monitor the utilization of the resources we have so that we are able to deploy resources as and when required and where they are critically needed at any one given time to prioritize? Because in a big fleet, you find that the allocations of the fleet and assignment is based either on departments, it's based on a certain product, but there are idle times along that line that you could utilize if you went out to optimize on the utility of those particular items, either vehicles or personnel. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Something else which Andrew mentioned on cross-border. We've lost 2 units in the border of Mandera to Somalia, and they have been hijacked. And from that time, we started fitting satellite-based tracking system on our units working in those areas. If people have to go to those border points, we are using satellite-based tracking on our vehicles. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, David, for guiding us through that. We have a question from Mark Davis, and I want to float this question to Richard. And all the panelists could answer this question, but Richard, try and help us through this. A question for fleet managers: what are the biggest 3 headaches you face running a fleet? E.g., fuel theft, drivers abusing vehicle, and using company vehicles for personal use. I guess that's the abuse. So, Richard, will you want to quickly guide us through the 3 biggest headaches for a fleet manager?
Yes, I want to say that these are common trends, especially in many organizations. The issue of fuel theft is very rampant, and I wanted to mention to you that drivers who are not satisfied, either from their perspective from homes, and they fully depend on the job to ensure their safety, well-being is catered for. Those are the people who actually go ahead and abuse this facility. What we have done as World Vision is that we have developed a component into our training package that it teaches drivers on developing livelihoods, skills for themselves, so that first of all, they can be satisfied back at home. So when they come here, they come to work with passion. And that's what now will drive them. But secondly, we have also taken precaution on coming up with a fuel card with the robust measurements, because we know that from the development perspective of any vehicle, a liter takes a vehicle, let's say for a Land Cruiser 78 model that most NGOs use, they use between 6 to 8 kilometers per liter. If now we have given that card a very key indicators. If a vehicle runs down that required standard, will then follow through. So what we are doing is that, first of all, we keep training our drivers on livelihood. Secondly, we also benchmark using fuel cards and develop robust indicators for measurement. Number 2, when it comes about vehicles for private use, all our vehicles we leverage on the telematics. The units we have fitted in our vehicles are able to tell us and geofence. We can geofence that vehicle that it has to operate within this periphery. And if we have to assign it to a route, we can highlight the route along the way. And it has a live monitoring equipment. So most of us, we end up giving drivers an opportunity to exercise their management skills through empowering them so they can be able to be agents of change to bring World Vision to its required goal of performance. Thirdly, about using vehicles for their own performance, for their own self-interest, that is very common to many people. But as I told you, those telematics are helping us to navigate through to make sure that we mitigate all those opportunities that may arise. I don't say we are watertight. We still have some loose ends that we need to fully put into perspective. But as at now, we are at 90% to be able to mitigate all those demands.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for the answers. The next question goes to you, Philip. To Philip, do you change the vehicle to hybrid or fully electric? And does installing the electric system add on the car's weight? And if so, by how much?
Yeah, great question. So we generally, if you look to the perspective about having electric vehicles, if you start working with hybrid solutions, you still retain the diesel or the combustion engine, meaning that you don't get the full benefits that you get from having a pure 100% battery electric vehicle, because you still need to change oil, you still need to work with filter swaps, and you still have an engine that is more or less reliable than a 100% electric system. So what we do is we do pure 100% battery electric vehicles. And I think that working with hybrid solutions can, of course, be a stepping stone to work or step over to fully electric vehicles. But from my perspective, I don't like hybrid vehicles from that perspective, due to the fact that you're not getting the full benefits of e-mobility. In terms of weight, the weight depends on, of course, how big the battery pack is. So the battery is the main factor that affects the net weight of conversion. But it can be all from the same weight to a few hundred kilos more, depending on what range that you require. But in essence, I can comment that the range of most of our vehicles is from 100 up to 300 kilometers. That's the most standard range that we do. And that is from 30 up to approximately 100 kilowatt hours of battery systems that we install. But if you have, for example, a bigger bus, a bigger Matado 50-seater, that requires a larger battery pack, of course, due to the increase in the higher weight of that vehicle. Hope that was answered.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Philippe, for guiding us through that. I think the next question should go to Andrew. And it comes from a participant, Albert. Hello, with the introduction of smart vehicles and enhanced telematics using IoT, do we expect a lower insurance premium?
That is an interesting one. Hopefully, yes, but it's not 100% assured that, because the main way of getting those how do you call it, the affordable premium levels is not only about your levels of tracking, or a driver will still have an accident even if they have all that capability. So, and insurance does not necessarily wake up one morning and say, oh yes, we can cover this. So they have to run probably numbers over years and appreciate what the technology is helping us improve. So yes, it's possible, but until that point where we have enough data to share and say an insurance company can take up and reduce the rates, hopefully that can work, but it's not an outright. We'll give an example of COVID. We didn't have COVID before. Insurance companies did not take in COVID patients, and some of them did not take up the treatments because they did not know how to do it. Yeah. I think that will probably be the way to go. Yeah.
All right. And I know that would interest a lot of fleet managers, and companies. How do we bring down premiums? And so the next question is, any of the panelists can take this one. Is it efficient to run fleet from within the company or contracting a third party to manage that?
Let me begin by saying that it all depends with your business. For example, if your core business is not transport, then it will be meaningless for you to run transport because you will not have time to service that vehicle. You will not have time to train those drivers. You will not have time to really evaluate on the need base on what your requirements are. Let me give an example. The government, the police. Initially, they were not able to respond to any emerging issues because their fleets were not given due diligence when it comes to maintenance. And those who have the impress holders will say we have serviced the vehicle, and in the real sense, there is no service. And now with the introduction of leasing, giving it to a leasing company, which is able to maintain and keep the vehicles on roadworthy conditions, the government is able to function without disruptions. So I want to encourage most of us to do a business case and see what does it mean to own vis-a-vis leasing when it comes to the impact of your requirement in terms of service delivery. So I want to post that to our individual organization to do the internal assessment and come up with a robust way of how to handle it. But the best thing is give the expertise job to expert people.
Absolutely, a very good ending to that question. Give it to the experts. They are going to help you. This one goes directly to Andrew. Hi, Andrew. What's your average total cost per kilometer, including fuel and maintenance?
Well, we can't do much on fuel because it's already there. So for us, we only focus on the maintenance because we know fuel is mainly regulated. So we focus mainly on the maintenance cost at 6 shillings per kilometer. Yeah.
Okay. Well answered, and that was a quick one. In the interest of time, I'll read 2 more questions. Please, if you don't see me reading your question, I'm looking at some of them that we probably will need to, look at offline and then answer them. I can see some mentioning the government, some we need to, talk and then we give you answers. So don't think I've ignored your questions. I can see them. And so the next one goes to, hi, Andrew, today you are, everyone is on your case. Hi, Andrew, kindly advise if Safaricom have SIM cards that can stream video from webcam. I don't know how is that used.
Interesting, that is one of the things we said we wanted to do. However, one of the things is, how much does it cost you to have a webcam so that you manage a driver on the road? It was very expensive. So we are left with the tracking of a vehicle and the driver. So one thing that we have is a keypad that, even if that identifies a driver. So I have 4 digits or 5 digits. I key in, the vehicle will be reading my name and the number plate of the vehicle. Before we didn't know, people exchanging vehicles from one person to another. We didn't know who was handling what. So right now, any vehicle outside there, the moment you start it, we already know who's driving it at whatever place or whatever county that we are in. But the webcam part is still a tricky one. How much do you want to go in getting into, a person's privacy? There's also Data Protection Act that came out the other day. Do you want to go that level to just secure a staff of a vehicle? I don't think there's also some level of trust you want to give staff and your team. Yeah.
All righty, thank you so very much, Andrew. Thank you for that authentic answer. And in the interest of time, guys, we have very few minutes left. I would like to say that we will answer the rest of the questions on email. The presentations will be sent to you as well. Thank you for participating. But before we end, I would like to, just announce a surprise to all of us. We would like to encourage you to always log in on time, register on time and log in on time so that we save time and we end this on time. And so we would like to honor the first, the Toyota team has been a bit generous to add 1 more person, but we want to honor the first 6 people to log in with a gift voucher of 2,500 each. And the first person to log in was James Kogi, Mark Davis, Albert Maura, Nahashon Mwavisi, Leonard Kosgei, and Frederick Olo. And so you guys can expect something good from Toyota Kenya. Before we go along, I want to invite Alex from Toyota, and thank you very much, Alex, for driving this. We really appreciate. So Alex, you want to say, pass your regards for Toyota, and then we can close this meeting for today.
Okay, thank you, Betty, and thank you all the panelists, Andrew, Philip, David, and Richard, for sharing your experience and your background. I'm sure we've been able to learn a lot from your experiences. And a big thanks also to the participants that you spared your time this morning from around the country, the region, and probably the world, to be able to engage in this inaugural session for fleet and transport professionals. We hope we shall have more of these events. Our main goal as Toyota sponsoring this event was to provide a forum for professionals to engage and benchmark against each other. Because what we realize is that compared to other professionals, like marketers, accountants, doctors, people in this space don't have a professional forum or association they work with. So that's the first thing, so that we're able to improve standards of fleet management, lower costs, and improve the experience. Like we say, Toyota Kenya, you love the Toyota Kenya experience. One of our goals as well is also to give you the best products, the lowest cost of ownership. Some of the testimonials you've had about vehicles doing, the 12 years, 1 million kilometers, those are our models. and would like to push those solutions to yourself. Lastly, we know there are many questions which were not answered. So we'll be sharing the responses with the panelists offline, and then we'll send an email pack to all the people who registered so that they'll be able to get that information later on, plus the presentations and the notes from the panelists. Lastly, let me say that this is not the last session. For anyone, especially in government bodies, we'll be having another webinar on the 22nd to discuss an upcoming topic, which is government leasing, because we know that's the direction that the government is taking. So we please watch out on our social media handles at Toyota Kenya and at Strathmore University Business School. We'll be sharing that information. And as usual, we look forward to your participation and your involvement. We'll be running a poll just now as we close on to get your feedback about the webinar. So please give us your feedback, and we look forward to engaging with you next time. So thank you so much, and over to you, Betty.
Fantastic.
The poll is running on the screen at the moment.
All righty, thank you so much, Alex. Thank you. The Toyota team has been very helpful in organizing this. We've been doing a lot of meetings behind the scenes to ensure that all our participants are happy today. So a big thank you to the Toyota team. A big thank you to the panelists, David Mugambi, Philip Gadler, Andrew Ngure, Richard Opagala. We are really grateful. Thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting us in answering all the questions. And thank you for bringing us great information. Very much grateful to the participants. Thank you for logging in from different countries, from different counties in this country. Thank you for sparing your time. And from the Strathmore Business School, I want to pass we are very grateful. Thank you for joining. We offer you training solutions, both in terms of fleet management and driver management. We will be letting you know when we have the forum so that you can bring in the fleet managers, you can bring in the fleet owners, you can bring in, once in a while, we can organize something for your drivers so that, you know, Richard told us the most important person in the whole of this is the driver.
Editing.
Someone who is
so that is where
anywho, just a small, I don't know what was happening there, but anywho, a very big thank you from the Strathmore Business School. We appreciate. Please let your government, anyone in government who would want to participate in our upcoming webinar, let them know so that they register and we push this together. Thank you so very much, guys. Thank you. Please do the poll. We want to see what you think. Check out your emails. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Looking forward to see you in the next webinar. Thank you very much and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.